In your search of the Bible, have you come across a man who never died? The Bible mentions Enoch as a man who walked faithfully for 300 years with God. Even the book of Enoch has so much more to say about him. Yet Enoch wasn't just the regular kind of man. He was one of the few men who never died because, according to the book of Genesis, he was taken by God. What kind of man was he? Enoch, being a patriarch before Noah's flood, descended from Adam in the 7th generation and was the father of Methuselah, who is regarded as the man who lived the longest in the Bible. Only a few times in the Bible is the mystical figure Enoch mentioned or discussed. He is mentioned very scantily, yet oddly enough, he makes an appearance in the Faith Hall of Fame, according to Hebrews 11:5. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found because God had translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony, that he pleased God. Despite the lack of sufficient information about him, the portrait created of him is rather lovely and inspirational. When speaking of Enoch, the writer of Hebrews definitely refers to Genesis 5. It is there that we gain an understanding of Enoch and how he came to be considered as one of the heroes of faith. To be more precise, according to Genesis 5:24, "And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." Enoch never experienced death. He walked with God during his lifetime by faith, and God took him. What a wonderful assertion. The passage does not claim that Enoch just went to heaven, though that is certainly true. Rather, it says that God adopted Enoch as one whose relationship with him started on this planet and extended into the bliss of eternity. Due to his close relationship with God and his belief in the existence of a God who was beyond the heavens and the earth, Enoch was considered pleasing to God throughout his life. Ranked alongside other legendary figures like Abraham, he seemed as though he overthrew death as a result of his strong faith. Maybe, in the same way, God had removed the prophet Elijah from the earthly realm. Nevertheless, why would the other legendaries mentioned in the book of Hebrews 11, the Hall of Faith, have to go through death, but then this mysterious guy manages to get away with it? Firstly, according to Hebrews 11:5-7, by faith, Enoch was translated so that he should not see death, and was not found because God had translated him, for before his translation he had this testimony, that he pleased God. But without faith it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. By faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark for the saving of his house, by which he condemned the world, and became heir of the righteousness, which is by faith. These Bible verses describe what will happen at the rapture, and use Enoch as an example. It is during this time in the end times that God will take believers who are alive to heaven without seeing death, just like Enoch. Secondly, similar to Elijah, we witnessed a devoted individual residing in an evil generation during Ahab's reign. With 450 prophets of the enemy, Elijah was one of the sole surviving prophets of God. 1 Kings 18:22. Then said Elijah unto the people, I, even I only, remain a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Enoch and Elijah are the only two individuals in the Bible who seem to have been carried directly to heaven without going through death. In addition to showing how we can satisfy God, the life and translation of Enoch also show what awaits those who live and seek God by faith. The prize is none other than God himself, and God precisely tells Abraham this in Genesis 15:1. After these things the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield, and thy exceeding great reward. The experience of full connection with God is the greatest thing that can await us in heaven, for when we see him, we shall be exactly like him. It is evident that the Bible genuinely paraphrases passages from the book of Enoch, as stated in Jude 1:14-15. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh, with 10,000 of his saints, to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds, which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. It seems as though these paragraphs are taking cues from the Book of Enoch. Nevertheless, the Book of Enoch is an intriguing apocalyptic book that is attributed to Enoch and talks of angels, the Nephilim, the end of the world, predictions, and the punishments that await the wicked after the flood. However, there are some parallels between this book and what is depicted in Revelation. In the Bible, Enoch is a rather enigmatic character who appears in the Old Testament stories and genealogies. Christians can learn various lessons and insights from the narrative of Enoch, starting with their walk with God. According to Genesis 5:24, "And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." Enoch was described as a man who walked with God. This implies a personal and close bond with God. Through prayer, faith, and virtuous behavior, Christians can discover the value of developing a close and intimate relationship with God. Another lesson we can learn from Enoch is a reference to his faith, which is found in the New Testament in the book of Hebrews 11:5. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony, that he pleased God. God was glad of his faith. Hence, in order to please God, Christians must have faith, which is a crucial component of their relationship with him. The next lesson from Enoch's life is the transcendence of death. Enoch is among the selected few people in the Bible who never went through bodily death. But according to Genesis 5:24, "And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." He was taken by God instead, and as a result, this incident raises questions about the possibility of life after death, as well as Christians' hope for the resurrection and eternal life. Living a life of holiness and righteousness is another lesson from Enoch's life. The Bible emphasizes the virtues and innocence of Enoch's life. Therefore, by pursuing purity and righteousness, despite living in an ungodly environment, Christians can understand the significance of leading a life that pleases God. Lastly, Enoch's life has proven to us the need to always be prepared for the presence of God. Christians are reminded to live their lives in anticipation of God's presence by Enoch's intimate relationship with God and his translation to be with God. Purification on a moral and spiritual level, as well as an effort to align with God's plan, can be part of this. The world in which we live is becoming more and more morally decayed, but this will eventually come to an end. We have been called to live in faith with God and to be righteous in an evil world. In the end, believers will be raptured, even though most, if not all of us, will face the agony of death. However, together, Christians who have passed away and those who are still alive will take part in this glorious experience, and Christians at that time will be caught up in the air, just like Enoch was. What is your most enigmatic figure in the Bible? Leave your answers in the comments, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Till next time, thanks for watching.